Let's begin with you, Dan, IDS. Discuss earnings with me. What do you think? Look, I understand that people are discussing the whisper figures for the October quarter, and I think it's a masterpiece. To put it another way, you cannot deny that this revolution is taking place. In my opinion, it's likely going to be close to $34 billion, not only the $30 billion or $32.5 billion figures they provided. Don't worry about it. Blackwell delays all the noise. Every stock takes a short break and is slightly impacted. The most crucial factor, and I believe you have discussed it, is the derivative, second, third, and fourth. As a result, I believe it rises and reaches all-time highs. What does it say about Microsoft, Oracle, Palantir, Salesforce, ServiceNow, and hyperscalers? The capital expenditure is $1 trillion. The fourth industrial revolution is upon us. After you end that call, it's waiting for the second, third, and fourth derivatives. It's more of a get the popcorn ready, in my opinion. Yes, I will emphasize that even more. After all, I have discussed network effects. We've seen zero net 1 I mentioned. Therefore, everyone participating in this semiconductor supply chain, including designers and chip manufacturers, should be doing well. The ones that will succeed are succeeding. This flow out to the ODMs comes next. We've seen some boom bust, They need to figure out how to earn more money and add more value, but they're getting the chance because they're associated with Dell and HP. Fantastic. They must figure out how to integrate the services and the apps with the devices we just discussed. Discuss the Now platform, Raptor, ServiceNow, This week, Salesforce and Benioff made their highly ambitious debut. But here's the thing. I want to make sure Pat has a chance to speak before Dan leaves, and I realize this will be my final argument because we are running out of time. However, this entire thing of people gazing at a digest really irritates me. The internet cycle is not this. We won't witness this thing collapse the way the internet did. The cycle is different. There is a time for digestion. You cannot provide services instantly, demonstrate income, and use SaaS when you have spent $100 to $200 billion on capital expenditures. We will not let this cause our demise by not investing enough. The Sunders are essentially stating as they sit there. They all get it. First of all, Pat, you provided a number of excellent examples where bears are using it. But that is just bullshit when everyone else says, there is no one using it. They are using it, but we must realize that the OPEX out and the CAPEX in are digested. No, this stuff is good. Let me put it this way. Nothing will halt this train for 12 to 18 months. For 12 to 18 months downstream is irrelevant. I take that you have hyperscaler FOMO. No one is in control of capital expenditures, including Meta, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. The beat continues on until investors start requesting lower capital expenditures. I don't think people completely understand the growth areas, so I want to get to them rapidly. The first one is the hyperscaler-equipped first build-out. Last night, we heard Dell discuss the upcoming build-out in Tier 2 CSPs. Putting Supermicro aside for a moment, the two Tier 2 CSP drivers are Dell and Supermicro. The enterprise is the third component. A portion of that was described to us, and according to Jeff Clark of Dell, the company is now in Phase 0 and transitioning into Phase 1 of PCS. Content is the third area for growth. They sell more than just GPU chips. They also sell racks, trays, various networking chips, and cables, incidentally. Not to be overlooked is software. Nvidia has witnessed an increase in software sales with each new generation, including Blackwell. The software began as low-level drivers 15 years ago, and now we have the Blackwell generation, known as NIMs. In reality, these are microservices apps that are being produced by several ISVs. In essence, this is the easy button that will move this along. Yes, there is rivalry, but since the market is expanding so rapidly, it won't matter. Hyperscaler custom ASICs are the main rival. The nearest direct rival, AMD, is expected to finish the year with a 10% market share, not for the entire year, but at the conclusion of their calendar year. In 25 and 26, Intel is probably going to show up. Today's GOTY is having a minor impact, but only at a cost of $500 million. In contrast, AMD is predicted to be worth $4.5 billion. Okay, folks, Dan, we need you to leave so you may appear on additional TV shows and talk to people who are traveling to Asia. This week, I will travel to Asia once more. Again, it boils down to that. As I always say, you may discover AI revolutions in places like Jersey Transit, Metro North, or the 10th floor of your office building. I believe this is the reason why a lot of the bears keep concentrating on their spreadsheets and look for AI within them. Dan, as you're rushing off, I'll be running to Berlin, so that's one thing. I'll be at EA to see what they're doing on these gadgets. However, I believe we should give Pat a shout-out. I must give this nerd some credit, you know. Pat is the deep technical person, and we were simply having a little fun talking about what makes each of us distinct as analysts. Did you witness this man point out Ford's mask change? In real time, he announced the mask change. Thank you, but notice how Patrick is saying here, oh my ROS. Let me deal with this. It was quite humorous. Since I actually brought this out live on CNBC, I felt a little guilty. No one was discussing it. I am reading from the CFO while the stock declines. What's a mask set? Is the question. It was amusing. I've never really had to explain a mask set, I said. I stumbled a little and then deep diver about a minute later. I aim to make things simple. Man, you mentioned that Bloomberg's headline claimed that they had changed their mask. Jensen stated that they didn't. The headline said, mask change, mask change. I understand. No, thank you. Bloomberg removed that tweet, by the way. Did they? Yes, because releasing something too soon, bugs or otherwise, is the last thing they should ever do. Because of all the infrastructure that has been built upon it, they must ensure that this item is golden. Put it to rest because they will indeed see some in the October quarter. Yes, and that's why I believe that the stock will reach its highest point ever in the upcoming weeks and months, since it's like, as more people begin to check, I believe they come to the realization that, whoa, the demand's not just 7, it's actually other enterprises. Additionally, keep in mind that you haven't yet reached Europe. We are currently discussing the century on a global scale. With some China exempt from the penalties, the story is much more US-centric. I have a question regarding the finances. In addition to the already approved $7.5 billion purchase, they announced a new $50 billion buyback. In the event of a market-wide sell-off or whatever, would it make more sense for them to really carry out this authorization or just store it in their back pocket? The second half of that debate is whether these buybacks are actually being done to reduce the float, or if they are only being used to sterilize new share issuance and stock-based remuneration. Now, let me explain. I don't believe that press release buybacks are solely about delivering a signal. They may have noticed some of the volatility, in my opinion. I believe that the Tokyo scare on Black Monday obviously caught their attention. It's a real buyback, but the truth is that Nvidia, OpenAI, and Microsoft are the top AI engineers in the world at the moment. Therefore, they must retain the AI engineers, because it is ultimately crucial to their business, regardless of how much people worry about options or anything else, such as issuing new stock as compensation. In reality, though, it's an incremental buyback. I believe that they will take inspiration from Cook and Apple and put it into practice, and soon we'll be discussing $7,500 billion buybacks instead of $50 billion in a year or two. They just must do something with the excessive cash flow. Simply plugging everything back into C won't work. If you want any changes made, please let me know.